Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Midday Market Report, Part 2, for Friday, March 17, 2023. If you are holding an Iowa State ticket right now, turn the TV. Go take a quick lap or two. Currently down 13-2. They just scored their second point there. ECSI VIPs, it's comical. We start the week 4-0, plus 4.5 units. And to start the tournament, we get sniped by Maryland, and it's been like that the rest of the way. To start today, Baylor team total over 75.5 and the over in that game of 140.5. And I think with 8 minutes to go, we needed like 20 points. And long story short, Santa Barbara couldn't throw it in the ocean the last 6. And Baylor decided, you know what? We're not going to get fouled. We don't need to score either. Get stuck on stupid at 7-4. So our tournament has not started out the way we wanted it. But we got time here for a quick segment with our regular guest, Mr. Zayd Hussein, live from Chicago, not Brazil, not Vegas, but Chicago today. Talk a little hardwood, the March Madness, how he's doing, how he sees it going the rest of this weekend, and some UFC. So without further ado, bring him on, the one and only Mr. Zayd Hussein.
What's going on, Jeff? How you doing?
You know, I've been in these lanes for 40 years. ECSI went public January 1st, 2015. We're 8 years and 3 months into it, and I take every game to heart. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I don't take losing well. I expect to win every game, and we know we can't do that. So when you start the week 4-0 and up 4.5 units, now all of a sudden you're 4-5 and down a half unit, and bad beat after bad beat. It doesn't settle pretty well with me right now.
Yeah, and I feel your exact pain. I know you mentioned with this Baylor game when, you know, towards the end of the game, you're up 15-20. You could just coast and hold the ball the last 6-7 minutes of the game, wait till the shot clock gets down to 3-4 seconds and chuck up a bad shot. I had over in Penn State yesterday, and that similar thing kind of happened with Penn State just holding the ball the last 6-7 minutes. Poor shots, missed a wide open layup to hit the over, and that was a big loss for me. But today we had Baylor. Baylor looked great. You know, they started off slow in the beginning, obviously, but the second half they turned the Jets on. Flagler, Cryer, you know, all these players, they're playing great basketball. And I think this is one of the best teams in the tournament right now. I think they have the firepower to win. I think they have the right recipe to win, and I think they have the coaching to win.
Yeah, they were one of our teams to look out for a couple weeks ago. They were really rounded into form. They had a couple hiccups late, but they got senior leadership. They got a lot of players that know how to win come this March Madness. They got a coach, obviously, that knows how to do it because he did do it. And I think, as you just said, it's a team that cannot be overlooked moving forward.
100%. And in this tournament, we already had a lot of shockers with, you know, Arizona going down and, you know, just a couple big upsets already. But, I mean, who sticks out to you as far as, I mean, for me, it's Baylor, and it's always been Baylor from the beginning. Is there any teams that have stuck out to you in the first round that you look at and are like, hey, this is a team to look out for as well? Maybe that wasn't on your radar?
With the matchups, you know, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I don't even have a score. I'm afraid of the St. Mary's team with UConn. I like UConn today. I think they should handle Iona fairly comfortably. But with that said, I was just trying to see a final. St. Mary's is up 7 with 7 minutes to go. Long way to go there. I think they match up real good against UConn. I had Matt Grissom on earlier today. He thinks that UConn should handle that. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself. I thought this Pitt team was dangerous. They played a great play-in game. I wasn't that high on Iowa State. I mean, it's 16-2. There's still a long, long way to go there. That stuck out. A Creighton team, again, I think is built for this tournament. But with an NC State team, I don't know which NC State team is going to show up. The one that finished strong or the one that started slow?
Yeah, definitely. And you look at yesterday's matchups too. I mean, Penn State running through Texas A&M was something. I had Penn State winning that game, but I didn't think it was going to be like that. That was just an absolute massacre. And if they're shooting like that throughout the tournament, and you got Lundy scoring, and you got Funk scoring, and then obviously Pickett doing what he's doing, this Penn State team is going to be very, very tough to beat.
Oh, no doubt. And I think the opening number was only 5.5 for tomorrow's game. And those are good eyes because I liked Penn State in the A&M game. I thought it was a good matchup. And I talked about before the tournament started and got lucky today, and that's Xavier. Hey, no disrespect to Sean Miller and his crew. They had a good year, but they're not a number 3 seed in my eyes, but they snuck by Kennesaw. They really shouldn't have won that game, Xavier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I 100% agree. And, I think the seeding this year there was a couple of teams you looked at and you're like, wow, the seeding's kind of off a little bit. And, it's working out in some teams' favor and it's not for others. But overall, this is going to be an exciting tournament. And it's 51-43 right now in the St. Mary's game. It's just very interesting right now. Everything's going on. It's so fast paced. There's a lot of different things happening. Tomorrow we got the fights. We have in London early start time. I believe the main card starts around 4 p.m. Eastern time. We have Usman versus Edwards, huge fight, and then in the co-main event, Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev. I think these are two of the biggest fights you can make in the UFC right now. And you have right now Usman sitting at -250. I think he opened around -275 to -260. -250 right now. The comeback on Edwards around +195 to +200. This is a fight. These two guys obviously fought. We've seen them fight 2 times. We've seen Usman dominate the first fight, and now we have the second fight again. Dominated the whole fight, gets caught in the last round, head kick KO. Now you're looking at the press conferences. I was watching everything, seeing all the interviews throughout the week, and it seems like this is going to be Usman's last fight, to be honest with you. That's something that I honestly see. I think he gets his title back, and I think he retires. Turning 36 in May, this is a guy that wants to just win and retire on top. And I think at -250, it's not worth laying that. But something that I like is +115 by decision. You could get Usman right now, and that's the way he's going to win this fight. I think it's going to be a heavy wrestling approach. You're going to see Usman put him up against the cage, shoot multiple takedowns. We saw last week with Barab shooting 49 total takedowns against Peter Yan, 49 takedowns in one fight. I could see a similar approach with Usman, just, pressuring him against the cage and taking him to the ground as best as he can and winning a decision. I think at +115, it's worth a shot instead of laying the -250.
I was looking at the number. I had a true number of 225, -225, +176 on the Leon Edwards side, a 4.5 juiced over -200. I think a lot of people leaning this one's going to go the distance. Going back to the last fight, had the fight dominated, and that one kick, as I told you, I was changing it. I was like, I've seen enough. Let's go to bed. And then all of a sudden, wow, okay.
Yeah.
And so I like where your eyes are definitely there with the win by decision there. Will be interesting, obviously, if he does lean and go towards the retirement side there. You talked about Justin Gaethje. Can grab him. My number was -250 versus +194. 1.5 juice over -80 cents. Right now at Circa, you can get Gaethje at +200. The favorite at -235. The under over now, he's got it juiced 1.5 over -65 cents. You see this one going at least to the over here, or is there something up your sleeve that you think this could be a quick one?
Honestly, man, this is a fight where it's, Fiziev is a great kickboxer. He's a great stand-up fighter, and he has the tools and ability to move in and out of and avoid strikes, in and out of the way. But Justin Gaethje is an aging veteran, 6-4 in the UFC. Everybody thinks he's beaten the best of the best, but he really hasn't. He's beaten Tony Ferguson. His some of his best wins in the octagon are against suspect competition, to be honest with you. I think Justin Gaethje is really good, but I think he's fighting a newcomer and a young blood that got a lot of steam behind him. Fiziev is no joke, and you could see in the odds as him being the favorite here. I think this is a fight that he wins. Honestly, he could possibly get a finish with Gaethje's suspect chin, but I could see it being a decision with him, outclassing him on the feet. Overall, I think this is just a very, very tough fight for Justin Gaethje. And, he's aging. He mentioned in his interview too, this is him and Usman always do camp together. And he's like, this is some of our last fights, probably going to be, this is the last fight or maybe another fight, one or two more. But overall, these guys, I think, are on their way out the door, and the new and young bloods coming in to take over, sadly.
With something, I'm not the expert. That's why I bring you on. I like to pick your brain. Everyone out here watching and listening loves all your work, loves all your knowledge here. You talk about the aging fighters, and there's one that sticks out to me like a sore thumb, and that was Cowboy Cerrone. When he had an amazing run, and then he was just cashing checks, and it was so sad to see his last couple fights the way that ended up. And then finally, the hat's off. He's adios, amigos. What's the mentality of these fighters as they're starting to get to that age? Do they map out 2, 3, 4 fights, or is it more of a let's take on this fight, see how we do, and then see what we can maybe do further down the road?
I think when you look at, especially the highest of level fighters like a Kamaru Usman and Justin Gaethje, they look at these aging vets and they see guys like Cowboy Cerrone that you mentioned, Tony Ferguson, Nate Diaz, all these types of fighters that are older and on their way out. Tony Ferguson, he went from, top 3 fighter in the world, supposed to be the biggest fight against Khabib, to now he's an afterthought. He's grown old and nobody's really looking at him as a serious threat. I think these guys are looking at the Tony Ferguson and at, other guys, and they're saying, man, I do not want to be that. And they would rather retire at the peak of their performance or, just below their peak to avoid performances like we saw with Cowboy Cerrone and others. And I think that's why you'll see if Usman ends up getting the title back, hanging the gloves up, and retiring on top. There's nothing really more for him to prove. He's beaten every contender that's out there. And, I think it's time for him to hang up the gloves too if he does win.
There's a bunch of other fights on the card. Anything pique your interest? Any dogs out there? I'm trying to use my eyes here, see if there's any names that stick out. Again, I am not the expert. Any big favorites? Let me see here. I mean,
we have Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze. That's a very interesting fight to me. Roman's been on a hot winning streak, but the competition he's faced is very subpar. I think this is a huge step up in competition against Marvin Vettori, and it's reflective in the odds with Vettori at minus 290 right now. I think Vettori could get him out of there, honestly. I like playing him at the KO numbers. Let me give you the exact KO number right now. I like him by finish, and I think he could get him out of there. We have Vettori by KO at plus 750. I think that's worth a sprinkle. Right now, you get that on FanDuel. Just, a small bet, half a unit maybe you could throw on there. He could get him out of there for sure. And at minus 290, it's not worth laying the 290, but it is worth, betting him by finish. Another fight that stuck out to me, sharp money came in on this, was the Omar Morales side. Omar Morales right now sitting at, I believe it was minus 115, minus 110 against Chris Duncan. So it's even pick 'em. I like the Omar Morales side on this. And I think if you want to bet something, at a pick 'em, it's Omar Morales in this fight. Second fight up on the card. And overall, besides those, I've been honestly drenched in March Madness and haven't really dug in fully to the card. But those are just my couple leans and few picks. I really do like the Usman side. You mentioned earlier over 4.5 rounds juiced at, what was it, minus 200. Usman's going to win this fight. And it's if you're going to bet Edwards, there's interesting things you could do with Edwards as far as KO only. So like if scorecards no action, which it has on FanDuel, I don't know if it has it in every state, but no, we have scorecards no action. So if Edwards wins by knockout, you're getting him at plus 124. If it goes to the scorecards, there's no action at all. The bet's dead. So the odds of Edwards winning is by knockout, in my opinion. But it's unlikely. But if you're going to bet Edwards, I like the scorecards no action because he could win by KO, and it's highly unlikely for Usman to knock him out. So I like the scorecards, no action Edwards, if you're going to take Edwards at plus 124 instead of taking him at plus 195 or plus 175. It's a very good bet.
Last time we had you on, we were talking about the women's belt and a stunner, a shocker. They've already come back and they got the rematch. Talk about the fight. Were you surprised, shocked with the result, and the thoughts of a rematch, and you're going back to the champ?
Yeah, so Alexa Grasso, and it was a huge upset. In all honesty, Valentina's aging, and these younger fighters, I mentioned it earlier with Gaethje and Steve, these younger fighters are coming up and they're studying and they're getting better. And Shevchenko's a counter striker. We saw her kind of waiting a lot in the octagon in that fight, waiting for her opponents to do something. Grasso got good hands, and she timed that spinning back kick perfectly to take her back and get the finish. I think if Shevchenko comes back and, goes to the drawing board, she could definitely win. She was winning that fight. She just got to use her wrestling more and avoid techniques that put her in danger with the spinning back kick that, exposed her back. Overall, Shevchenko could get it done, and I see this rematch happening very soon, honestly. Interesting to see. I'm interested to see what the line will open up at. If I had to guess, Shevchenko around minus 300 to minus 400 range. She was dominating that fight before she got caught, but, shit happens. It's MMA.
We'll have you back, obviously, next week in your usual spot. If I said to you, when we see you on Friday, whether it's college hoops or MMA, what's the shocker headline going to read?
Usman retires on top as pound for pound #1 fighter in the world.
Go follow him at Zayd Hussein on Twitter. We've had the crawler going the whole time. Sports Grid TV, Fansided, Props US. You can grab all your work there. Anything else to add, sir?
Nothing. We have Props US is coming out, our article tomorrow for the UFC fight. So make sure to tune in and get my best bets on there. And as always, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
The one and only Zayd Hussein. Please go follow him. He'll be back next week, same time, same bat station. For myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest. Go enjoy the madness. Stay in your lanes. Always, always, always wager responsibly, and we'll see you soon.